Dead or alive, you're coming with me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to PCP Movie Night. In particular, welcome to the second week of ActionFest 2024. And we're talking about, in the midst of the best ActionFest lineup we've ever had, one of the most anticipated movies from us here on the panel and you out there in the chat, in the PCP Army, one of the most anticipated movies for us to review. We're talking about Robocop from 1987, a movie I adored and cherished as a kid, a movie that I adore and cherish as an adult. And we got some Robo sycophants with us tonight to chat about this movie, including Jelani from Go Figure Reviews. What is up, my man?
Hey, Sean. And of course, I'd buy that for $1, because I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't? Speaking of buying that for $1, it's also our man, Brooks. What is up?
Your move, creep.
Nice.
Has 3 Robocop sayings down.
Yeah, let's see what the rest of the panel has, because we also got Verno from Blood Splatter Chatter.
Can you fly, Bobby? What up? What's going on? That's probably the best one right there, if I can be honest. Actually, you already took the best one, Robbie.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Wait till we end. What about Hammer Time Holshoe in the building?
Bitches leave.
Damn it, that was going to be my last one. That was going to be the way I ended the show.
Damn it. Just cut this out.
I almost texted you earlier to say, dude, if you don't end with bitches leave, but I figured you had it.
I thought I had it. All right, we also got Fable. What is up, dude?
Is it
That's the best quote. That's the best quote.
Yeah, that's the
best one. Yeah, really.
You're on mute, bro.
You're doing the bit.
It's got to be a bit.
Good job, Fable. Good job.
You're
Oh, my God.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
I was going to say, good business is where you find it. That's what I said.
Okay. All right. Fable was wanting to be on this show so much that I heard a rumor that the other day Joe Corallo was walking along in the park and someone just came up and just clubbed the shit out of his knee, right? He was not able to attend tonight, so Fable slid into his...
I heard he had an accident. Yeah, I heard. Unfortunately, yeah.
Jeez.
Only a Robocop had been there.
or for
Yeah, for sure. So we're talking about Robocop 1987. This was when we put out the ActionFest list. This was the first one to fill up, right? Like everybody wanted to jump in on this one. Everybody out in the PCP Army, they were super excited when they found out we were doing Robocop. And I'm like, man, we've done some really great movies, but Robocop's the one that gets everybody excited. But there's a reason for that. This movie is an action sci-fi classic. It's an 80s classic. It's a special effects masterpiece. Great work from Rob Bottin. You got Paul Verhoeven in his first major production, right? He had done a couple things before this one, but this is really what set him atop. This is a very Frank Miller-esque type story. Now, Frank Miller, of course, wrote the scripts for 2 and 3. We're not talking about those tonight, but this is very Frank Miller-esque, and it's just the way it's shot with the news, the satirical nature of it. I love this movie. I first watched it when I was a kid, and this movie, y'all know me. I grew up watching Nightmare on Elm Streets and Friday the 13th and Halloweens and Hellraisers. None of that stuff bothered me as much as Robocop when I was a kid. There were scenes that were very disturbing to me. The death of Murphy in particular was very disturbing to me as a kid. And it's a little bit ridiculous, when you watch it now, because some of it's so over the top. But that's what Paul Verhoeven does, right? Is everything is so outlandish. Everything is so amped up past 11 into 29 and a half, right? Because that's just what he does. We talk about Stuart Gordon and his idea of more is more. Well, Paul Verhoeven kind of does the same thing. But this movie absolutely has a core of humanity and drama anchored by a masterful performance by Peter Weller, an underappreciated performance, I honestly think, because a lot of people, they think about the special effects, they think about the cool stuff, they think about the jokes, they think about the explosions, but they don't really think about the very nuanced performance from him underneath all of that armor. The soul of the man still comes through the cyborg. I love this movie. Loved it when I was a kid. Had the toys. Watched the live action show for the brief amount of time that was on. Like, I was obsessed with Robocop and so glad to revisit it here. And I believe, John, aren't you the one who bought me this?
Yeah.
You got me like 1, 2, and 3, and an action figure. It was a RoboCop Christmas or birthday that year. I don't remember exactly, but it was fantastic. So, Jelani, RoboCop, what do you think? Overall thoughts?
Well, you know, I'm going to start with my preamble. It is fuck, 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 fuckity fuck, fuck the police. They ain't shit. This movie proves it. I love this movie because it's action gold. It's beautiful. The fact that it bothered me, the same things that bothered you, Robbie, it bothered me as a kid. The scene where Murphy gets shot to death, which he should have been dead, but they're still trying to like revive him. I was like, what the crap is this? But he's really dead. He's super dead. And that bothers me. In the acid scene where the guy goes through the acid and like, oh God, it still bothers me. The fact of the way he explodes on the car, it's just everything. But the movie is a product of it's time. I mean, and prophetic, by the way, because that's the way Detroit looks now. John, it's so dark and grim, and it shows that they're trying to build something on top of it, but they can't. So it's just because the city won't allow it to grow or to be better. And it's run, and basically the police station's run by corporations, which might as well be like that today. They're run by someone, the Illuminati. I have no clue, but cops are rampant, or going on strike. They don't want to protect the streets any longer, and they have to do something about it. They make this cyborg cop to come and clean it up. I'm surprised we don't have RoboCops now. But I guess we're just too inept for certain things, to make cyborg cop guys. But the movie is so good. It's just the remake of this I hate it. I forget about it all the time because I'm like, oh yeah, the first RoboCop is so much better. It's satirical. It touches a lot of things that are, like I said, going on in society right now. The special effects are decent. There are a lot of different things in here. And of course, the music. Bum, 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 bum. It's bombastic. It's a beautiful action movie. It's the 80s, and it feels 80s, and it works well, and it pulls everything together. But, of course, fuck the police. They suck.
All right. Well put, Jelani. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about RoboCop overall?
Well, I mean, I love this movie. Like, this is a movie I never seen this when I was a kid, but like RoboCop was one of those kind of characters that was like just everywhere, And like I remember watching the cartoon series back in the day, and I remember the toys, but like I didn't see the movie until I was in my like 20s, I think, and like I remember really liking it because of like it is it's got that like biting satire. I love the little ads and shit they throw in there, like the comedy show that everybody always ends up watching, like the commentary on like how like the kind of stupidity of people just sitting and watching this garbage and just laughing at nothing. And like it has a lot to say, but it's also just a fun action movie at the same time, And like I do have some problems with it. I think this movie goes a little too easy on the old man. Because like I think the old man, like, the head of like the corporation, I think he should have gotten a little more shit. But
he's wrong.
Other than that, I think it's like a good commentary on like, especially not just like police culture, but corporate culture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right about that. The corporate, the idea of corporatism is heavily put into this movie, right? And using the city of Detroit. Right. And they were like filming in like Pittsburgh, and they were filming in Dallas, and so much is put in there visually to accentuate some of the idea of like the disparity between like corporate greed and the average citizen in a city that's kind of losing, their kind of like the lifeblood almost, right? Where like the city's like jobs are going out, shipped overseas, things like that. And it's like the collapse of a city in order to build the profits of a company. What about you, Verno? RoboCop. What do you think?
Yeah. I fucking love it, man. This is like one of the movies that holds up better from my childhood than most of them, for sure. I hadn't probably seen this movie in like 20 years until a few years ago. I just bought the Blu-ray on a whim, and I was a little trepidatious about watching it. It blew me away how well it's aged. Just so much of this that obviously I didn't get when I was a kid. This was 87, and I was thinking about it like, just like all the slasher villains, RoboCop has always been there my entire life. I've always known this movie. And just like Jelena, you had me thinking of it being like a product of its time. I'll always look at like the slasher era, and I think like or just horror in general. By the time I got to 87, they were doing such weird shit. Like Chucky came about in 87 or 88, and that's when they were just running dry, and the premises got so weird. This is that, but action version of it. We talked about like the fucking why can't I think of it? Oh, Escape from New York. I said like that was like the beginning of action movies really feeling influenced by comic books. And I think this is like the damn near like the peak of it before they just became comic book movies. It's like Matrix. It's one of those movies that is a comic book movie, but it's not a comic book as far as I know. It's not. But everything we talk about, the cast, characters, style, structure, music, themes, this has all of it. Like every bit of this, I'm excited to talk about because there's nothing that's like, the music isn't that great. It's like, no, there's something to talk about every bit of this movie. So awesome one. This is the best action fest ever already.
Yeah, absolutely. Only on week 2, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But Holshoe, my man from Michigan, you got an affinity for RoboCop. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think I've discussed this on the show before. When I was a little kid, up until I was like 11, we lived in like a village of like 150 people in the middle of effing nowhere. We used to drive 25 minutes to this little convenience store that had rented some VHSs. And I remember one day going there. I wanted to say this was like summer of 88. Going there, and there's a cardboard cutout display of RoboCop, that half man, half machine, all cop, whatever. And I saw that cutout, and it blew me away. I thought that was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Up until I saw Keaton in the Batman costume a year later. Anyway, I was blown away, and I wanted to rent that movie so bad. And my mom's like, "Oh, it's rated R. You're not watching that." But my stepdad is a fucking awesome, and so my mom wasn't around. He let us rent it and watch it, and it traumatized the shit out of me, to be honest with you, because I was like 11 years old or 10 years old I would have been 88. I would have been 9. So it definitely may be too much for little hammer time. And but I remember just the costume being so badass, and I didn't get all at the time some of the jokes and stuff because Paul Verhoeven, he definitely has a sense of humor to him, and they're kind of the jokes and stuff like that. And I appreciate it a lot more later on the rewatch and eventual rewatch. But man, I just remember being so excited and how badass that costume was, and wanting to be a cop when I was a kid because of this movie. You think it would detract you, but I was a little kid. I wasn't the brightest kid. But man, I just remember the first time seeing it and just being blown away. And I've rewatched it a couple times since then, and I watched it again last night. And I love this film the first time around. I love it. I love it now. Again, I think it's still a little too much for little John, but I still love it, man. Awesome film.
Yeah, Lil John is terrified of this movie. When you ask him if he wants to watch it, he goes, "What?" No, dated.
Eventually he says, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for landing the joke for me.
Yeah.
Fable, you basically committed felony acts to be here tonight. So what do you think about RoboCop overall?
I adore this movie, man. This movie is, I'll try to get out of rankings, top 5 movies, stuff like that. But I would say this is a top 5 influential movie on me. Much like you, I was into horror movies as a young kid. My mom, I was her horror buddy. She took me to see all of that shit. She didn't care how old I was. She needed somebody there with her. And I love her for it. So I remember going to see this movie, and I went to the movies for it. And like you guys said, when they get Murphy, that shit terrified me more than any horror movie I had ever seen prior to this movie. And it gripped me from that moment on through the whole movie, eyes glued. And it's so funny because a little less than 10 years later, I'm 17 and I go watch a little movie called Starship Troopers by the same guy. And the same shit happened when the fucking aliens start killing the people. Little kids start crying and going out of the theater. And I was like, oh shit, how's that kid? How's that kid? But yeah, man, this movie ages like fine wine. And it's just so crazy how prevalent its themes are today, more than ever than 1987. And what surprised me on this watch, because like a lot of you guys said, I didn't get a lot of the shit, right? I was a little kid. But man, what a dark comedy this movie is. Holy shit, this movie's hilarious. I love it, man. I love it then. I love it now. This might be a perfect movie, guys.
I think we found the one. All right, but this movie has a great cast. I mentioned already, like Peter Weller, a stunning performance for what he had to do and what he had to work with. But everybody surrounding him in this movie, they all stand out. They all stand out on their own. I'm really excited for this part. Jelani, why don't you kick us off? What's a performance you want to highlight as one of the best?
There's so many awesome characters in this movie. And I'm taking a good one. I don't care. I'm taking Red Foreman. I never know Red Foreman's real name. I keep forgetting it, but it's in this movie, he's Clarence Banneker.
Kurtwood Smith.
Kurtwood Smith, thank you. Kurtwood Smith is a national freaking treasure. That man is so good in this movie. Yeah, and can you fly, Bobby? It's so awesome that he's just this dickhead. It's like he's always been Red Foreman. It's like he's just, I don't know. He's just such a jerk. And I like how he goes into the office to meet Dick. And he's just so casual and nonchalant because he's a criminal. Like, I'm pretty sure
betrayed
he's
him.
a criminal. He walks into OCP like it's nothing. And like, y'all want to see Dick Jones. And like, he's so casual and forward with him. And just his demeanor with Robocop as well. When he blows his hand off, you got to give him a hand. His character is just, oh my goodness. He's over the top. And like, he's the person I remember the most as a kid when I watched this movie. Like, he was just so evil.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Yes.
And he blows up the car with the gun. Like, he just stole it off the line. Got the sticker tags on it and everything. It's like, well, see something cool, And he blows the car up like it's nothing. He's just such a dick. And I love his character. He's so awesome. And I'm taking him because
yeah. Oh, dude, it's a charismatic performance, right?
Yeah.
Like it's flamboyant, it's charismatic. He's like chewing scenery. And when we talk about some of the greatest cinema villains, and we always mention people like Hans Gruber and shit like that, why do we not talk about this dude? We should. Like 100%. Like even the little thing, like when he's talking to that drug dealer, he puts his fucking hands in his wine.
Yeah,
right?
that's my favorite shit.
And he still drinks it.
Because then the dude's like, well, I can't let him show me up. So he's just like, oh yeah, I like your finger slipped.
You know what? It's because there's 4 major villains in the movie. There's Ed 209, there's the 2 corporate guys and him. But he's the most memorable, but he probably gets lost in that mix.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, real good stuff. What about you, Brooks? What's a performance you want to highlight?
I love Lewis. Lewis is so hot. And I love her introduction where dude she just beats the shit out of this fucking dude who's like going wild in the police station. I love her. Like, she has that kind of 80s girl attitude where like, Murphy's like, I'm driving, and she like, she blows the bubble and pops it. Like, she's just like, oh, so hot too. So hot. Like, and even though like, a lot of the bad things are kind of her fault, it's like, once her and Murphy pulled up to the fucking warehouse and like, they're like, we're not sending back up. That's when they should have been like, okay, then let's just go back. We know where they are.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, she had to fucking, be the Maverick. She's lucky she didn't get killed too after that, after dude knocked her off of that, whatever it was. They're like,
and getting shot twice in the chest.
I love the villains in this movie too. They're all like they're like Walker Texas Ranger villains, but like even goofier. They're like the villains from The Crow, but like more ridiculous and funny.
I thought the same thing. They were one fire up away from being the Crow villains.
There's like a T-Bird, a Tintin, like, you know, all the archetypes are there, but they're just a little goofier.
Yeah, you know, knowing that
Lewis,
knowing
that James O'Barr was, you know, making The Crow around this time, like, I wonder if there was any influence, especially on the movie in particular, because they're not quite as
the movie had to
crazy in the comics, I guess. I always forget until I watch the movie that's Nancy Allen,
dude.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I always forget that's Nancy Allen, because it's almost like they go out of their way to make it not Nancy Allen's typical roles. You know what I'm saying? And very strong character, very good one to bring out. Brooks, what about you, Verno? What's performance you want to highlight?
Well, just to piggyback on what you were just saying, like Nancy Allen, like to me, this is the character that I know her as. So it wasn't until like the last few years really that I got more into De Palma's stuff that I'm like, I'm even more impressed now coming back to this and being like, whoa, she's nothing like that. And you could watch the De Palma stuff and kind of take her for granted, but she really stands out in this. I love her. But dude, if I get a chance to talk about Robocop, that's what I'm gonna do. Robocop, man, holy shit. First, just the look is ridiculously iconic and badass. Peter Weller, I know he went like crazy. I think he was kind of a dick, but he went like, not method, but he just trained really, really hard on how to walk like a robot for this. And it shows so much. The way he turns his head before his body is just so damn dope. The voice that he does, even like when because he plays the two characters, when he's Murphy, he still just has like that really cool voice, but he lays into it. He makes every line that he says as Robocop like quotable. The whole movie is ridiculously quotable. Even the one black villain's laugh is fucking quotable. And I think someone already did it. Someone did it. It's like insane.
Hey, why Robocop gotta shoot him first? Why gotta shoot him first?
I thought the same thing. He could have easily taken out like 4 of them, but he just decides to put like 10 slugs in the black guy and fucking move on. That was questionable. That's the only suspect thing about Robocop. The other thing is just like when I was a kid, this movie had like more heart. Like, you know what I mean? Like the 5-year-old me injected even more heart into this movie that is there, but not as much as like I remembered as a kid. But all the stuff with him, like eating the baby food and all that, just like his humanity, like him finding his humanity is just like so goddamn touching for such a brutal movie. And then the other thing I'll say about him, last thing, is the like alternate look. The helmet off look just sets it over the top. It's so cool too. And like that was mind-blowing when I was a kid. And I still look at it. I'm like, how exactly did they do that? So I don't know. Robocop is one of the coolest characters of all time, man. He's so badass.
Facts.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Holshu? What's performance you want to highlight?
Man, I don't know. Everybody took some of the good ones, but one of the guys that I was positive was dead halfway through the film and then shows back up later and has a scene that traumatized me as a fucking kid is Paul McCrane. He's like the motorcycle guy who's like works for Red and forgot Red's name. And not only the cool scene at the beginning, not the beginning, when Robocop first shows up at the gas station with the explosion and everything. That's a cool scene. I thought Robocop had killed the guy. He shows up later, but then when his death scene does appear, man, it is graphic as fuck, man. And that traumatized me. It was the two things that traumatized me, or Peter Weller being shot to death. And it's almost like over the top, like, you know, rewatching it, you know what I'm saying? It's less scary than it was when I was a kid. But also his like falling into the toxic. That's so random. There's a big tank. They're toxic sludge or whatever it says. I'm like, what? and then Clarence like runs into him with the car and he like explode. Man, that yeah, he was a good henchman. He stood out as one of the best, most memorable henchmen. Obviously, Kurtwood Smith was such a great bad guy, and Dick Jones, whoever plays Dick Jones, I forgot his name, is a great bad. Like these are great bad guys. But for his henchmen go, man, he was pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had that iconic sideburns, balding look, right? Just obnoxious. We all know a guy like that.
A college boy?
Yeah.
Some kind of college boy?
What about you, Fable? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Man, I'm glad you guys didn't take everybody.
Oh, there's so many more. There's so many.
I mean, Ronnie Cox, he's awesome, but that's Ronnie Cox in every freaking movie, right? Like, so I'm gonna highlight Bob Morton, RoboCop's daddy, man. That dude is the ultimate yuppie, the ultimate opportunist, man.
Miguel
Lives life,
Senior.
lives life, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Tries to take every opportunity he can to screw Dick Jones. So he's kind of a hero in that way, but then he's also a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I mean, he gave us RoboCop, so even though he's a
Be
terrible
bad,
person,
motherfucker.
yeah, you have to
you're
appreciate him.
bad motherfucker. I was like,
And he
hell
loves
yeah.
him. I fucking love that guy.
So yeah, I think his performance is so memorable. The late Miguel Ferrer.
Yep.
Yeah, as Bob Morton, man, great
Hell yeah.
character in this movie.
Great one.
He's good in everything he's in. He always plays that same kind of asshole guy. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Twin Peaks or whether it's a Night Flyer, for instance, he's always playing that same character, but he plays him so well. I will go with Ronnie Cox because I love Dick Jones in this movie. He is the villain. All the shit Clarence does, I hate Dick more for some reason, right? First of all, he's like,
what was that?
You hate Dick?
It would have been different if he said he loves Dick more, but I mean,
Yeah.
but when he's like, like when he like doesn't wash his hands after taking a shit and
Yeah.
like he gets all up on that fucking dude and shit like that. And just the way he delivers that line, like, cause he's such an old head. He's like, I used to even call the boss asshole, but always with respect.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, but I really like him in the movie because you detest him. You don't want to, you want to see that guy get it and get it in a majestic way. Also, a shout out to Ray Wise because just that dude's goofy, cartoonish expressions and everything is like one of the best things ever. Like, oh my god!
But Dick Jones is like the flip side of Clarence. He's like Clarence is what you get when you don't have a silver spoon, and Ronnie's what you get when you have one. It's like the same character,
Clarence.
just on two sides of the coin, man.
Yeah,
That's
and
like-
Clarence is like he's a sleazeball and doesn't mind. Like he's not trying to hide who he is. You know what I'm saying? He's not got some kind of fake fucking. He's a sleazy asshole to everybody, dude. Like every single person.
I was gonna say while we're still on the characters, like the casting across the board, like the henchmen, the random cops, like the lead, like kind of good cop, the black guy, all the office people, like it's ridiculous how good the casting is across the board. Everyone's perfect.
Yeah, they really, really are. Let's talk about style and structure. This movie oozes style, right? It does. It's just absolutely amazing. A special effects heavy movie. And I'm talking about old school shit, dude. We're talking about stop motion animation, which is probably the most dated out of all the effects, but I still love it. There's a charm to it because it doesn't matter how good CG can get. We know it ain't real, right? Even though it's like jerky and kind of weird, we know it's an actual physical object. And that somehow cuts in a little bit different, at least to me when I watch these movies, right? You have matte paintings galore that are beautiful. It's like Citizen Kane. It's like when you find out that Citizen Kane's using all these matte paintings, you're like, get out of here. Are you crazy? No, they really went all the way up there and like shot. No, they didn't. Like there's so much beautiful matte paintings here. And the special effects by Bob Bottin. Just the acid dude at the end. And if you pay attention and go frame by frame when he gets hit by that car, you see his skull and shit as everything like moves away from it,
He
dude.
liquefies.
Yeah, the Robocop suit is so freaking amazing. They wanted somebody else. Like I think Michael Ironside was considered, but they needed somebody who was has a very thin build to fit in that suit, right? Took 10 hours for Peter Weller to put it on for the first time, right? And he couldn't move. So all that practicing you were talking about, Verno, he had to like relearn all of that again in the Robocop suit because everything he learned, and he learned from a mime. They brought a mime in, like a professional mime to like teach him and shit like that. But the special effects are amazing. The visuals are amazing. The pace of the movie is great. It's got a very heavy influence. The writer says it's heavily influenced by graphic novels. It's heavily influenced by Frank Miller, right? Like that quick, like commentary from like and the satirical nature of like the commentating on the news and the cheesy commercials. And I love the cars, like the 6,000 sucks or something like that, right? The
SUX.
Yeah. And just all that kind of shit, all the satirical stuff that's thrown in there, the commentary on society, and at the same time, a very core root about humanity, that is, even as a kid, like you were talking about, Verno, like this movie seemed way deeper than it may actually be, but it's actually deeper than everything else that was going on at the time. This movie is brilliant. It is so perfectly paced. It never slows up. It never goes too quick. Everything is just so perfect. And there's not a scene where I don't just want to see that scene. You know, sometimes even movies you love, you're like, here's the fucking cab scene in Pulp Fiction. Jesus Christ, let me fall asleep for the next 10 minutes, right? But there's no scenes like that in here. I'm ready for every single bit, every single moment. There's always another moment that's to come, and you anticipate them. This movie is perfect as far as style and structure goes. What do you think, Jelani?
Tell me, what does it feel like to kill a man?
I don't know.
Oh, it was the cab scene from freaking Pulp Fiction. God, I give up on all of you.
I'm sorry, I fell asleep for a second. What happened?
Yeah, man, style and structure. This is fantastic. Yeah, stop motion, absolutely beautiful. It is clunky to look at, but yeah, like you said, Robbie, it's there. And like the stairwell scene when that thing falls down the stairs and it's like a little baby, like it's lost its way. It's oh god, it's fantastic.
I thought it cries too when it's on its back.
And it growls.
Yeah.
It
It's
growls.
like a lion
It growls,
until it like
yeah.
gets stuck and then it's a baby.
Yeah, it just doesn't give a shit anymore. And I'm like, oh wow, they made this machine. I mean, and Dick Jones, you got to go back and think about that. He had a terrible idea. That was a terrible idea to make that thing. And not only that, it killed the guy. Why
Who cares if it works? 25
like,
years
he doesn't
worth
care
of
if it works.
parts.
It killed the guy in front of other people. Why was he not fired? Why was he not arrested for
Why was he
murder?
put in jail?
You know, why were you not? Why did they not cart him away at the end? It would have ended this movie. Like, hey, you kind of killed a guy with a robot. You gotta go. You know, and the guy wasn't you're fired or anything. It was so weird. Anyway,
He shredded that fucking dude too,
he
man.
did. He was
Like,
destroyed.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was not alive after that. They were like trying to like make sure don't touch him. Don't touch him.
Will someone call a
Check
paramedic?
his fucking pulse. He's
Call
in
the coroner.
pieces.
Yeah, forget that. But yeah, it's so many little things in this movie that make it beautiful. The aesthetic is gorgeous. Robocop shoots a guy's dick off. That's a clean scene. Through the dress, I think about that when I was a little kid. I was like, oh my god, why did you do that? You shot him in the leg or something. But it's so many beautiful little things, like the aesthetic of old Detroit, just the way it's put in. It's like it's so disheveled. It's so dystopian, and they make it look like it's nothing. And of course, we go back to the nonsense TV shows that they're watching, the commercials that they have. The lady that's doing the newscast, I think she was on Entertainment Tonight. I cannot remember her real name. Yeah, and I can't remember her name
Gibbons, something Gibbons.
Yeah, Lisa Gibbons.
Lisa
That's
Gibbons.
right. Yeah, that was it. But she was put in there very well. I think it oozes style because, like I said, of the aesthetic of the disheveled old Detroit. It just makes it a character in this film. The structure of the movie is great. It tells a very fast paced story. We get everything and all the details we need. On top of that, I love the way he dies and then the way he's reborn as Robocop. Mm-hmm. It's all shown through his eyes. Like his eyes, he sees the doctors trying to save him, which, by the way, those doctors fucking suck. Oh, like they're shocking him. They're shocking him, a man with bullet holes in him. And I'm like, get the bullets out, man. Get the bullets out. They were terrible. They're terrible doctors. And then he dies, and then he wakes up, and then you see Bob there, and Bob's like, he's still got his arm. Why does he still have his arm? And they're like, yeah, we want to save pieces of him. It's like, no, get rid of the damn arm. And each time he wakes up, it's a new thing. Like he wakes up and sees the lady kissing his visor. He wakes up, I love that scene. I love how it's shot. It's all through his eyes. And then when he finally wakes up and he's finally Robocop and you see you don't see him, you see in the mirror on the other side of what he looks like, you know, kind of the outfit, but you don't see everything. But it's a mirror on the side as he gets up.
They do a great job with that, teasing his reflection and seeing him walking behind the frosted glass. They don't just give you here's RoboCop.
Right.
They slowly give you
build
pieces of
you
them.
up
Yeah,
into it.
that's really great directing. That's really cool.
It really makes a lot of sense. I love his outfit. I hate that was 10 hours. It looks like him in the suit, so it works well. Like, of course, they could stuck a stunt double in that bad boy too and just called it a day. But you get his mouth, like you can tell that's Peter Weller, like just from that little divot that he has in his before his lip. It's just the way his face is shaped. You just know that's Peter Weller. And that's why in RoboCop 3 it doesn't look right. Like that guy's not Murphy. You know what I'm saying? And it's just those little things, the little aesthetics that make this movie so fucking fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Brooks? Style and structure.
I really enjoy the style of the movie. This is a very 80s action movie. And like Verhoeven, he has this kind of style. Like he seems to have like a very negative outlook on humanity in a lot of ways. It's like, you know, the villains in this movie are just like irredeemable creeps who have like nothing going for them. They're just bastards. But like also like all the people in like the corporate side of things too, like they're all scumbags too, and like they're in their own ways. Like if something had happened in this movie and like that whole building had blown up and all the people died, I'd have been like, he portrays them as being just so cruel and callous. Like, you know, you're talking about the scene where Murphy is like they're still building him as RoboCop, and you know he wakes up in the middle of the office party, and they just like, you know, they just treat him like a fucking thing. They, you know, like this. It's just like the very callous nature of reality, and it's like it's a very biting satire of like, you know, kind of the worst aspects of humanity in a lot of ways, but it's also very fun. You know, it's kind of weird how he balances it. Like it's dark, but it's also like humorous at the same time. Maybe it's a dark comedy, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways, as much as an action movie.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned the satirical nature, but man, like it is funny. And like I think Fable said, this was the first time you really realized it's like a dark comedy, man. Like it is hilarious, and it is such a balance in this movie. Like this could easily be just a cheesy 80s fucking movie, right? But instead it's got such a perfect balance of the action elements, the sci-fi elements, the commentary, and the themes and everything about it. It's just so balanced perfectly with real drama, real action, real interesting concepts, and high concept stuff of the time in particular, right? And the comedy really works so well. I don't know anybody else who balances things that well since Verno. Why don't you tell us what you think about the style and structure?
Waka waka. It's so good. Today I rewatched it today, and it was probably the most I'd really like lasered in on like the camera movement. Even all the stuff like when they're in the office and it should be boring, it's Spielberg-esque with the blocking and the way people are moving around and the cameras following people. It keeps everything that could be boring from being boring. And then I really noticed like there's a lot of transitions that are just cool as shit. Like just a lot of like from scene to scene that they did. Like everything was really thought through before they did it. I loved just to mention what you said, Jelani, all that POV stuff. I love that too. Like that was so fucking cool. It almost feels like found footage in a way. Like there's found footage movies that have that feel. But to get kind of specific on the structure, like to take it kind of literally, it's fucking brilliant. Like just looking at what they did, like one of the key things about the style is just the violence, right? The over-the-top violence. That's what kind of blows you away the first time you see this movie and every time you see the movie. But the way they stack those two scenes of Murphy dying, or no, it's the Ed 209 scene in the office. And then right after that is the sequence where Murphy dies. So it's bam, 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 all that fucking violence right in a row. And then the second act, it turns into a superhero movie. You've got the corporate feud going on. You've got Murphy finding himself. Like you were saying, Robbie, it's just like, it never stops. You're interested in every bit. And then the third act, they're like, let's give everybody a fucking rocket launcher. This is going to be awesome. And let's melt this dude. So like to throw in all the rocket launcher stuff and the Melting Man scene, which we've talked about. That's one of the greatest practical effects moments in the 80s. Like in the era where this shit was going on, it's one of the coolest. So one of the most memorable ones. So it's, I don't know, man. I've never appreciated this movie more. That's why I love doing your show. There's movies that I'm like, yeah, RoboCop, it's fucking badass. But then when I really look at it, it's like, holy shit.
I had
like,
to get rid of Joe,
brilliant.
bro. I had to get rid of him again.
Absolutely. Holshu, what about you? What are you thinking?
I love the style and the structure. I like the pacing of the film. Visually, RoboCop looks badass. Ed 209 looks badass. I'm like, is it Ed 209? Because sometimes they say ED 209, sometimes they say Ed 209. But you hear in the film, you hear different versions. So I was never quite sure. But I really like that design. And yeah, it's a little dated sometimes, the green screen or whatever they did. But he's super awesome, and I love when he falls down the steps. and
how he tries to step first.
Yeah, he keeps doing the like, oh, can I walk here? Oh shit, and then he falls down. Yeah, and the pacing too. Rewatching the film, you realize that him becoming RoboCop happens rather quickly. You know what I'm saying? They quickly say, oh, here's what's going on with the police force. Here's who operates the police force now. It could have taken longer to him dying and stuff, and him coming back, because you want to see RoboCop. You want to hear the story of RoboCop. So I feel the pacing is done really well, because it's still, you learn a little bit about Murphy's history, you know, and you do learn some stuff. Meanwhile, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it ever drags. So I think the structure and how it's done is done really well. I could not find anything I could remove from that film. You know, I could find even some of my favorite films be like, oh, this part's good, but if this part was not needed, or it could take out 10 minutes here, because I know Robbie can't do more than an hour and a half, and this movie's like 145. So, and he made it all the way through. I might have fallen asleep, who knows? But I love the structure. I love the style. It oozes of style. The music, and we'll get to that more. But everything works so cohesively, and it's done so well. It's Verhoeven's masterpiece. I do like Starship Troopers, but RoboCop is his best film.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. What about you, Fable? What are you thinking?
Oh, this movie oozes style, like you said. It oozes it so much that it actually scared Paul Verhoeven out of Hollywood, because all of his movies ooze this sort of style. Total Recall is another one that people forget that he did. That's another masterpiece, in my opinion, of special effects and all that other stuff that we're talking about in this movie, as well as in Starship Troopers. And why I say they scared him out of Hollywood is because he's really trying to make a film here. And his movies are so badass that all Hollywood wants to do is make sequels to them and turn his things into cartoons and toys. And he wasn't interested in any of that shit. He was really trying to make a film here. So yeah, oozing style. You talked about Old Detroit. Let's talk about Omnicorp and how crazy that building looked. And its design and structure and those staircases. I don't know if you caught that scene where they're riding that elevator and they show all these weird freaking stairs. That building's nuts. And it got like neon signs and shit in it, which is totally weird for a freaking corporation building. So yeah, style, and you guys said it, RoboCop suit, iconic. You cannot change that suit. That's why that other movie failed, in my opinion. Had they put RoboCop suit, people would have forgave it a lot more, believe it. But
Agree.
Yeah, and structure, I mean, also, yeah, man, all the satirical bits, the Nukem game from Butler Brothers. No more military aid. I mean, the movie is fantastic with all of that stuff. And like Holshu said, it says a lot in a short amount of time. And that's when you know you're dealing with a master of style and structure. So yeah, top notch, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about the music. So the music is done by Basil Doris, who also did the Conan the Barbarian score. I believe he did Starship Troopers as well. I think he worked with Paul Verhoeven a lot. The music's great. The music is a superhero action movie theme, kind of that dun 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 bum 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 bum, and it gets in your head, and you're just like, that's his theme, dude. It's like the Batman or the Superman theme, like it's associated with him. But the music in some of the other sequences, like, gets very like synthy, low in tone, and just kind of like atmospheric. And then when Murphy's like revisiting his life, or when Robocop's revisiting Murphy's life, and you got the music gets a little bit softer there and then ramps up when it needs to, especially. And it doesn't even really bring in that theme until it really needs to. And it sells it. The music is fantastic in this movie. What are you thinking about it, Jelani?
I love this music, man. This, of course, it is very bombastic. It's just that, that dun 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 dun, and it raises. Starship Troopers music. It's pretty much the same. You get that same, like, I guess I'd be pomp and circumstance. It's very awesome. I don't know. It makes you feel like you're a part of something special. And throughout the movie, it's very, it's prevalent. It's worth it. It's truly a marvel to behold. There's not much more to say about that music, man. It's freaking cool.
Absolutely. Brooks, what you sitting on with the music?
I like the music in this movie, and like you mentioned, it was done by the same guy who did the Conan movies, and like that makes sense to me now. Like, because it does. Like, when I was hearing it, I was like, man, this seems very familiar, and like it does kind of have the same kind of like signature as like the Conan soundtrack, but a little more sci-fi. A little less fantasy, a little more sci-fi. Yeah. But yeah, it's great. Like the Robocop theme is just good. It's just a good soundtrack,
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Verno?
Shit's good. Brooke said it. I'm looking up right now who did the Dollar trilogy for Sergio Leone. It's you probably know Robbie
Ennio
Morricone. To me, that's what like I picture. Like Robocop could be on a fucking horse. It's like an updated version of that. But I think the first time that we see it, like he's cruising in his car, he just flown out, skidded, sparks flying. You can tell he's still Murphy, and that's when they kick it in, and it's like fuck yes, it's like one of the best themes ever, dude. Yeah. It's so simple too. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Do they do it through all the rest of them? Because you guys were talking about it before. I don't remember 2 and 3. Is it like carry through throughout the whole thing?
I think so. Yeah,
I don't know for certain. It's been a while since I've seen 2 and 3.
Okay. Two for sure. 3 is we don't talk about 3.
The Blade Trinity of Robocop movies.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be great if they did a third Blade movie. What about you, Hammer Time Holshoe? We're not even gonna get the new Blade movie, man. They've been trying to make that for 5 years. Holshoe, what do you think about the music in Robocop?
It's great, man. It works extremely well. It's got a memorable theme. It's just badass music. It's done so well, and it's quiet when it needs to be. And I don't know, man. It's one of those things you almost don't think about because it works so well. It's not jarring, except for when that theme comes up, which does like, wow, but it's such a it's up there with like the fucking Star Wars theme song or fucking Batman. It's like an iconic song. And if you heard that, like if you were at Kroger getting fucking cereal or something, you heard that, you'd be like, is this the fucking Robocop
Dead or Alive, coming with me,
cashier. Yeah. You would notice that music, it stands out. And I'm positive it was a version of it was used in 2, and 2 is fucking awesome. We should talk about 2 sometime. 3 is garbage. Yeah. But it's fucking great, man. It's got such a great fucking great soundtrack, and it sounds good in digital surround. I've got the Blu-ray. Robbie's got the Blu-ray. It sounds really good. Whoever's done the mix for the Blu-ray did a good fucking job.
Yeah. What about you, Fable?
There can't add much more to that. It's great music. I will add that when it gets soft, they still use the same theme, and it works even in a soft tone, because when he's in that house, having the memories of his child and his wife, which is very powerful scene if you zone in on it, but it's playing there. It's going real soft, and it works so well even in those times. So great soundtrack.
Dude, can I say, because you reminded me of it, that scene when he gets really pissed off right before he punches the TV, and he does something with his fucking lips where he looks so small. He's like, because he can't act. It's the only thing he can do is right here. So he lays into making his lips look crazy. But I don't know. Always sticks out to me. It's fucking so weird.
He does. This movie's got a lot of thematic material throughout it. Jelani, to you, what's this movie about? What's it saying to you as far as its theme?
The coldness of corporate greed. These people are soulless. They took a man and basically ripped him, took his life away. I mean, his life was already gone from the criminals that shot him up. but then they take his corpse and make a cyborg out of him to fight crime. And they do it so quickly, so effortlessly. And we're nothing but a number, because basically he signed a contract. He signed a contract with OCP and the police department, and probably not knowing what he signed. He probably he just signed his life away and didn't know it. And the greed of it, just to do this, to make the streets safer so they can build a Delta City on top of old Detroit. And just it's very soulless. It's very saddening to see that that's happening now. You know, we're not people, we're numbers to these corporations. The numbers are all there is, and results. And that's exactly what this corporation did. I still think that dude, the head of OCP, is Ronald Reagan. He just feels like it. That man is Ronald Reagan, and he acts and sounds just like him the way he wants. You know, he doesn't care about anything but the bottom line. I mean, even when that guy dies, I'm sorry, Dick Jones, that was his last day at work. I'm sorry, you kill a guy. I'm sorry, you kill a guy and a whole bunch of witnesses.
Just face palm.
Yeah. Oh well.
You embarrassed me.
Womp womp. And then Bob comes up and says, "Hey, I got a better idea to kill people." Oh wait, I'll listen to this idea. You know, let's make a Robocop. Sure. And then Bob's a dickhead too, and he's got his coke and his women, and that's basically what these people are. They're just soulless scumbags, and they're out to make a buck. They're out for the bottom line. They're not for the people. They're for themselves. And it clearly shows in this, and Paul Verhoeven really shows that. Of course, Starship Troopers is satirical. It's the same thing. He, like you said before, he really don't like America and what we're turning into. And like I said, RoboCop is very prophetic in that it tells of what we more than likely will become. And it kind of sucks. And if we don't straighten ourselves up or stand up to these people, which is probably far too late to stand up to a corporation, because they're going to step all over you. But at this point, if enough of us do it, there may be a change. Something may happen. I think so, but I still think soulless corporations rule the world, and they will continue to do. They did it in the 80s. They're doing it now. It's pretty much the same thing. So That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's all throughout there for sure. What about you, Brooks? What's this movie speaking to you?
Well, I think a big theme of this movie is that you can't trust these corporations and business interests with public safety. Like the idea that, that a corporation will put public safety above profits is ridiculous, because that's not what they exist for. That's the whole thing about these corporations. It's been we've always known it, but over the years, through advertising and all those kind of things, we've been kind of led to believe, oh no, corporations are like you, they want to work for the betterment of mankind, but they don't. They just want, because that's not their objective. Their objective is just to make money. And that's, a part of that is part of the system that's been created, that enables these kind of guys, that would enable the old man. And I think this, like I said, I think this movie goes too easy on the old man, because it shows him as he has this dream of creating this new city from the ruins of Detroit, and he knows his guys are bad, but he's got to run his business. But he's just he is the boss, and he lets Dick Jones murk one of his employees, and apparently doesn't even lose his job. And the little guy, the head of the Robocop, the Weasley little guy, I love him because he seems to be the embodiment of the kind of corporate toady stooge. I love that scene where the old man's giving the speech and he does that super enthusiastic clap. It's oh, you little slimy little bastard. And so when he gets killed, I'm yes. But yeah, there's a lot to say about the kind of corporate mindset, as well as because it's I don't really like, there's more wrong with the police than like, corporate interference. It's like it's a much more complicated problem than that. But I think like a lot of the problems is, this idea of like the privatization of like prisons and like the privatization of crime fighting in a way, or or crime prevention. And like, as long as you put like corporations cannot be put in charge of things like this, because they don't care about doing the best job. They care about making the line go up. They care about the number going up. So like anytime you like put them in charge of something like this, it's always going to lead to disasters. You'll get like Ed 209s just like blasting people for no good reason.
Every fucking
and it's like,
time.
Yeah, it's like Ronnie Cox's character. Ronnie Cox, like Dick Jones says, it's like he didn't care that Ed 209 worked. He just wanted to sell it. Like all that mattered to him is that he could find somebody to buy this piece of shit. And like if it went ahead to like slaughter like countless civilians, he didn't give a shit, because all that matters is that he made the sale. And that's kind of like the whole thing is like you can't trust these people, these corporations, to do the right thing, because that's just not what they're trained to do.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Verno? What are you thinking?
All that shit, man. Just exactly what that dude said right there. No, I mean that is the stuff that obviously I don't think any of us got the first time we saw this in 87 or 88, whenever it was. Or at least I didn't, because I was 4 or 5. But, it's just like what you're saying, blurring lines between law enforcement and the media and the corporations and the militarization of the police force. And like, I bet that's still a thing. I assume it is. They're like testing out products with our police forces. And
we got robot dogs in New York. I don't know if you saw
private
that.
prisons are a thing. It exist somehow.
Fucking cops.
Right. And then for Murphy's side, like the thing that I think probably told me as a kid is like, oh my God, being a fucking cop would suck. Like that looks hella dangerous, because it's not their fault. It's not Murphy's fault. It's not Lewis's fault in this situation. I'm sure they're shitty cops, but it's not, they're the ones getting the songs written about them, and the opening to PCP movie night spoke about them. But it's most of them are probably more like Murphy than like Red Foreman. So
Gotcha.
There's that.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Holshoe? What are you thinking?
I agree. I mean, Brooks talked a lot about this, and you do have that, like in this case, the bourgeois or whatever is OCP. You know what I'm saying? The proletariat's like the regular people. And what they don't touch on is when they start to build Delta City, what do you do with the few people that remain in these areas? They're going to like wipe them out, right? You know what I'm saying? There's this dream city or whatever. And it's just, you're right, the privatization of the police force. And I mean, his 4th directive was hidden. Then he can't arrest an executive from OCP. So OCP is obviously out for themselves. And all those guys from OCP are garbage. But the one result is we did get a good guy. Robocop ends up being, you know what I'm saying, we get this one good thing out of it. Because as he touched on, Brooks was talking about the Ed 209 not being finished, but he was all about it. He wanted to test it in the police force because he wanted to sell it to the military. So it was all about the money. And if it wasn't perfect, oh, well, ship it, boxed up, ship it. We'll patch it later. It kills some people, innocent people. Too bad. So it was definitely this OCP people were shitty. You know what I'm saying? We're shitty, greedy, with their shitty suits and their 6,000 SUX or whatever.
Just
with cruise control.
Yeah. And I remember the advertisement in the movie. It's like 8.2 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shitty gas mileage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but they do touch on that. They do touch on like the regular people and the shit the police go through, because there's a lot of shit police officers, but there's some good police officers that are out there trying to do their thing. And what Brooks is like, you can't blame the cops, whatever, but it was his partner's fault. They rushed in when they saw that it was a whole bunch of people in the back of that van. They knew they were up against a bunch of people.
Like,
she got Murphy
killed.
killed.
Bring all these guys in. Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't, as you get older, you realize that, when I was little, I didn't comprehend all the stuff that's there. It's not even like deep shit. It's like right on the top. It's like, here's this fucking OCP shitty and private, you know what I'm saying? It's not really hidden, but I didn't understand all that when I was a kid, because like I said, I was a dumb kid. But now I'm a dumb adult and I see that shit more clearly.
Absolutely. Fable, got anything to add?
Yeah, I think this movie is really about humanity. and every facet of humanity. You have every version of every person in this movie. You have the virtuous man, you know, to a fault. Yeah, you have like you said, the scum of the earth. But is it really too far from what we are when we look in the mirror? I mean, we laugh at death right now. And these guys were laughing when people were dying. We laugh at it too. I've seen people, that guy. It happens. I mean, you see these kids, these rap artists in Chicago, they're killing each other. And they're tweeting about it. Like, haha, like it's GTA.
Mm-hmm.
This shit is happening right now. And it's not a bad person per se. It's just a human element turned up in a Paul Verhoeven movie. You know what I'm saying? So I would say this movie is about humanity and really, if you think you're not like these people, better look again.
Yeah, well put. Well put. Y'all are all right. I mean, like John said, it's right there. It's not even buried. Like the corporate aspect and angle of OCP and
Not a very subtle movie.
yeah, right. And then like the privatization of like the police force and the militarization of the police force and just the excessive greed that leads to some of these things, right? But then the humanity element that you brought up, Fable, right? So to me, like all that's true. But one thing that I do like to pull out of this movie is it's about somebody who was so crushed by this oppressive system of corporatization, right? That they literally turned this dude into a machine to work for them. How many Americans, how many people across the world feel like machines that are just in there for service of some corporate goal, right? And that happens. But the beauty of this movie is that Robocop finds his humanity and he goes against that
Directives.
secret fourth directive that like gets put into his head, right? And he finds it within himself and elevates himself back to human, right? And that's to me what the message of the movie really is this is the setting, this is where we're going, this is where we're at, this is where we've been. This is the answer. The answer is for all of us machines to look inside and re-find our humanity and rise above it. We can still be a Robocop, but we can also be Murphy. We need that balance of the two, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. Now it's time to rate the film. So out of 5 possible, you digs, you out there in the chat, what do you rate Robocop? Jelani, kick us off here on the panel.
It's a great film. It really is. I have nothing but fond memories of it and utter freaking horror about a man exploding on a car and another man getting shot to death. They stick in my mind too much. It bothers me when I watch, because every time I see this movie, it makes me think of that. So that being said, it's still a great fucking film. And even though I fucking hate the police, even to this day, fuck them, fuck you, cops. I hate you, fat pigs. There, I'm done. I'll give it a 5. It's a perfect film. It's an 80s film. It's a film for my childhood. It's nostalgia bait. Us talking about it, I was gonna give it a 4 because I hate cops that much. I'm totally gonna give this a 5 because it's so cool. It's just one of these damn films that is in the lexicon. It is iconic. And it is what it is. And every time the music plays, you know exactly where it came from. You know exactly the taglines. You know it's quotable. It's rewatchable. It's fantastic. So yeah, 5. It's perfect.
Yeah. All right, a perfect score from Jelani. What about you, Brooks?
Yeah, I give this one a 5 too. This movie, to me, it feels like a punk song in a lot of ways. Like it's very negative. It's very like has a very negative outlook on humanity. But it's also like entertaining. It's fun. It's fun despite it's how dark it is in a lot of ways. And I think it's more theme rich than I ever gave it credit for before. Like this time around, I actually like watched it and actually like thought about it some more. And I was like, oh, wow, this movie really does have some things to say. And it is saying it in a very like, kind of cheeky way, but, it's still saying it. So, and I think that's like a lot of the reason, like a lot of us came up the way we were, like the way we think, why we think about things where is because of movies like Robocop, and the kind of messages that we took from them. And so, like, yeah, I think it's a very important movie as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, 2 perfect scores so far. Verno, what you sitting on?
Dead or Alive. This shit's a 5. All day, baby. Fucking all day, dude.
Nice.
Corallo was on last week talking about Die Hard, and rightfully so. I'm not disagreeing with him that it led to the MCU. We wouldn't have the MCU without that. But there's like 5 or 6 big movies before Die Hard. And I'd start it with Back to the Future and then Aliens, which I don't love. And then this definitely falls in there. And Lethal Weapon.
Weapon, yeah.
Like, those movies right there are the MCU. And really, dude, Robbie, looking at your action fest, throw Last Action Hero in there, throw fucking Batman Begins in there, and this action fest is like a road to the MCU. This is like all
we
the
even got
influences.
Blade in there too, right? So
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it is the road to fucking the MCU.
It really is, man. And the only thing I have to bring up the fucking what's her name, Lewis. When I just got to mention the scene with the dude's pissing and she's chewing her gum. The way that she finally
a lot of gum chewing in this movie.
Can I put this thing away? And she's like, I gotta fucking see this thing. And it's like 5 seconds, and she's like, she looks down, and it cost Murphy his goddamn life. That's basically that's what it boils down to. But it's a 5, man. I love this movie.
All right, half the panel has rated so far, and they are perfect. What about you, Holshy? What are you thinking?
Before I give it a score, I'm going to point out that last year in November, a Robocop game came out, and Peter Weller does the voice. The game is fucking gorgeous. It's done very well. It's actually a sequel to the second film, so it ignores the third film.
Thank God.
It follows the second film. Visually, it's fantastic. It's on the Xbox, on the PlayStation, it's on the PC. Check this game out. Again, Peter Weller came back and did the voice, and it feels like what Robocop 3 should have been. And it is fucking just a phenomenal game. And if you love Robocop, you will love this game. So everybody don't sleep on this fucking game because it's great. But as far as the movie goes, it's a 5 all day. I mean, how can it not be? It's done so well. It's a great cast, great music, great action. Robocop is just one of the most badass looking motherfuckers on the planet. So I love it, man. I love this movie.
Heck yeah. All right. That's 4 perfect scores so far. Fable, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm going to break tradition here.
Yeah, right.
And we're going to go 5.69 because we need a 0.69 at the end of this damn thing. And how can you not get this a 5? This thing is iconic. Like Jelani said, it's lexicon. It's part of pop culture history. So much influenced by it. I agree with Holshu. Go play that video game and go watch Total Recall and Starship Troopers, because if you had your eyes on this, seeing the themes and satirical qualities of this movie, go watch those movies again. They're there too, man. That I consider that the Paul Verhoeven trilogy. Those 3 movies right there. But yeah, go check it out. 5.69.
Well, one of those movies you just named is going to be on the lineup in January of 2025.
Let's go.
For me, I'm going to rate it a 5 because why not? It's a perfect fucking movie. How many times has my dumbass said something like, I judge a movie based on what the movie's trying to do. I do that to justify giving movies like Reanimator a 5. You know what I'm saying? Or The Exorcist 3. But this movie is a 5 because it's influential. It has got amazing special effects. It's got a perfect balance of all of its elements, whether it's, like I said, the drama and the comedy, the action, the sci-fi, like the fantastic concepts, the realization of those, the performances, the music, the themes. It's rich. Like, yeah, there's a lot there right on the surface, but you can go as deep as you want in this movie.
Yes.
And, like, even start talking about the nature of like consciousness and a soul or this or that. Like those are all elements.
You could go into this like it's a sci-fi movie, an action movie, a dark comedy, and love all 3 for all those reasons and still give it a 5 for whichever way you look at it.
Yeah. And it, like I said, it's astounding that there's never a moment where it's like, okay, this is the time to go make popcorn. This is the time to go to the bathroom. You just want to be there for the next moment that's about to come. And it's just absolutely fucking perfection. It's great. The special effects are amazing. the pacing, the camera movements. You're right, Verno. Like the way that Paul Verhoeven's using that camera to keep like this energy flowing throughout the movie is spectacular. So that's a 5 from everybody, but Fable bumped it up a little bit with a 5.69 for a PCP average of 5.1069, dudes. So 2 weeks into Action Fest, we already got 2 perfect reviews, Die Hard and Robocop. Will it happen for a third time? It's not seeming likely because next week is going to be a fun one, but I don't know. I haven't seen this movie since the 90s, y'all. So I'm very excited. Next week here on Action Fest on PCP Movie Night, Last Action Hero.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
Hell
Yo,
I told y'all this was the best Action Fest lineup yet, and we are totally delivering that. And this should be a very fun one. Will it be this year's Golden Child? We shall see. What about you, Jelani? What you got coming up? Thank you so much for being here.
yeah, man, it was great to be here. RoboCop is such a fantastic film. It really brings out the little kid in me. So I'm really glad I got to review this one. Yeah, Brooks and I do Go Figure reviews. Come watch us. We got Transformers week. So this time we've got Megatron and we've got Optimus Prime. These are YOLO Park model kits. They're Transformers that do not transform, but they are the best looking ones we've ever had.
Oh shit! Let me go sub up. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I already subbed.
Yeah. Sub up. Tell your friends. I got Megatron right here. Megatron is so clean.
Yeah, Yellow Parks.
Yeah, the articulation is nuts on them
Yellow
too.
Parks
It really
are great,
is.
man.
You can articulate as what?
Transform. they're super nuts, and like you can put them in
This
battle.
is the Michael Bay movie, guys.
But like they're so clean, and I really check out
Worth it
for them because I'm putting the Optimus Prime up soon, but Megatron is already out. Check us out, man. We already had the winner of our contest. It was MTB214. He just claimed his prize. I mailed it out. We're gonna do another giveaway probably in the next month or so. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna have another live stream coming up next month. So stay tuned for that as well. We are super excited for all these things. We're trying to grow our channel. So yeah, sub up if you can. Go Figure reviews.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. Brooks, it's always a pleasure to have you here chatting about movies every single week. Final thoughts?
Go Figure reviews. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
Verno, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. What you got coming up, man?
First, I want to say the one quote that I didn't say. Nobody said it. I like it. When the dude gets the rocket for the first time, my brother and Fable, you said the other one right off the bat. Me and my brother constantly, really, he was bigger than me. He held me down and go. I have this week. We are wrapping up Summer Abroad. We've been 6 weeks traveling around the world, watching and reviewing some of the best horror movies ever made. And Robbie will be there this Thursday to wrap it up with Martyrs, part of the new French extremity movement of the early 2000s. So it's never seen it. Everybody that watches it says it's a very, very good movie, but very fucking hard to watch. And it stays with you and it makes you feel like shit for weeks.
Like audition?
So, let's do it.
That's just what I needed.
Yeah. Perfect movie to follow Robocop up with.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Everybody go check out Blood Splatter Chatter as well. We will be there Thursday night. It's going to be super fun. Whole shoe. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and you had to be here for RoboCop. Final thoughts?
I got nothing, man. Go see RoboCop. If you haven't seen it in a while, go see RoboCop 2 because RoboCop 2 is freaking up. Go see it. Watch it at home. I don't know where you're gonna go see it.
It's on Max. They're all on Max.
Watch them.
Yep,
and then play that game. Don't sleep on this game because it's a great follow-up to the first 2 films. And the game is fucking awesome. So don't sleep on this game, especially if you're a RoboCop fan. I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't check out this game.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Especially when you're walking down the street and then the music kicks in. Freaking amazing.
Oh, I bet.
Fable, it's a pleasure to have you here. Glad you're able to make it. Final thoughts?
Yeah, man. Like I said, go check out Paul Verhoeven's trilogy. Like I said, RoboCop, Total Recall, and Starship Troopers. You can watch.
You don't think it's a quadrilogy with Showgirls?
Listen,
We did Showgirls.
yeah, that's
Oh,
what
wow.
Hollywood did to him. It scared him so much that he said, "I'm not making any more science fiction shit. Fuck that." But yeah,
Just-
Make a fucking toy line out of this.
go watch that. Go watch Blood Splatter Chatter as well, because we were just on his channel and we did Pan's Labyrinth, another favorite movie of mine.
Fantastic film. How the fuck was I not on that?
Hit me up.
Yeah, hit him up. Hit him up. Catch me tomorrow on Gary B, the Casual Comic Guys channel. I'm going to be on his show, The 10-1-1, where we go over 10 personal comics that we love, one comic that has a personal story, and one comic that we think is spec worthy. That'll be awesome. You know, I got a bunch of books there to show off. And if I could just plug this one, join us on July 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's a Sunday, where we're doing Blaine Fable and his amazing friends. But this time we're doing the UK, Ireland massive special, man. And that's where I invite all my friends from the UK and Ireland to join me to talk about their experiences in collecting comics and pop culture. It's going to be awesome, dudes. I mean, you might need to throw subtitles on because there's going to be a lot of accents there, but it's going to be fun, man. So yeah, come check us out the 21st of this month, 12 p.m. Eastern, man. Blaine Fable and his amazing friends.
The UK edition. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like Drag Race UK. It's a whole different show. It's still badass. All right. For us, though, like, yeah, we're just getting started with ActionFest. And yeah, ActionFest may be the road to the MCU, but it's also the road to Horror Fest. We are in the midst of getting these lineups finalized, and the announcement is going to be July 21st on Rockin' Robbie Live, the full announcement of Horror Fest. So get ready because it's great. And join the PCP Army on Facebook, where we've been, and our Instagram page. Follow us there because we've been giving out some hints about some of the upcoming movies in the lineup before the official reveal. But join us next week for Last Action Hero. Y'all have not seen this movie since the fucking 90s. I saw it in the movie theater, and I think I've seen it a couple times on VHS, and then that was it. In fact, I own it on VHS. I may actually just watch it.
It's so underrated, man. It's so underrated.
It's on Pluto.
Part the same day.
It's on Pluto for free if anyone wants to stream it.
It's Arnold, man. It's Arnold. What else can you say?
It's just Arnold.
Yeah,
He's disappointed in this film. I'm surprised because it's awesome.
We'll be the judge of that. We'll be the judge of that. Anyway, join us next week on PCP Movie Night. Thank you all so much for being here. You out there in the chat, you watching on the replay. Thank you for making PCP Movie Night a successful show. It means a lot to us. Join us next week and all the weeks after that. I almost said prior to that. Yeah, join us for all the weeks prior to the night. Just like John will wind up being on Pan's Labyrinth somehow. They'll work that out somehow.
We'll edit him in.
Yeah, just edit him in as if he's there.
I could do it. I could pick a square.
Pick a square. Anyway, for final thoughts, bitches leave.